Oh hey, you just caught me putting up a picture on the wall. How is this important and relevant? It's not. I just had to make some connection to the outro of last episode. That aside, I'm actually having some difficulty finding things to critique in this episode. They legitimately did a good job. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But it's a lot better than the first five or so. So
Let's just jump into it.
It's infiltration time, so make sure to be careful and stay out of the way of the guard. Or not. Here, they can be seen pressing the X button and hiding in a corner. Hey, maybe you should hit that X button that just came down. The only problem with them hiding is that you're not supposed to be able to hide while guards are chasing you down. I am aware that not all game elements can or should be brought over, like in the case of the all-out attack, but this is just one of those things that kind of would make sense in the anime, because, they wouldn't just magically lose sight of you. Unfortunately for them, they run into an unopenable door. After Ann lies to the audience by saying that she has competent technical skills, they decide to head back to the real world. Time supposedly passes, and Ann approaches Yusuke's house again. This is where we meet Oya, a sketchy reporter and a confidant. She was supposed to be introduced in the previous episode, but a day late is a lot better than some of the other introductions, honestly. This encounter probably shouldn't have happened though, since they were on their way to the metaverse.
でもなんか怪しい感じ。
お姉さんに言われたくないっす。
Let's be honest here, Ryuji would never be able to think of a comeback like that. So Ann proceeds to do some modeling for Yusuke, and the reason gets explained a bit later. Turns out that there's a door in Madarame's house that matches the one in the palace. If Madarame saw the real door open, then the one in the palace would open as well. Why is Ann's acting so acceptable? It's supposed to be a lot worse than this. After Morgana finished picking open the door, Ann drags Yusuke into the room while a panicked Madarame looks on. The door in the metaverse also gets opened, so Ren and Ryuji hurry in. However, instead of going into the security booth and making sure the door can't be closed again, they go straight into a puzzle involving some paintings. This part is supposed to come later, but I'll admit it does allow for a slightly better scene later. Back in reality, Ann and Yusuke discovered that the room they went into is filled with fake Sayuris. When confronted, Madarame says that he had been in a slump since the Sayuri was stolen. He tried to recreate the painting, and that someone came along to buy the fakes. However, Ann is uncharacteristically logical and points out that nobody would knowingly buy a fake. Morgana then reveals that the Sayuri was in the room all along. Madarame reports them to his security company, but the two manage to escape into the metaverse. They're supposed to land in the courtyard area that we saw near the start of the episode, but this actually does allow them to transition a lot better into meeting Madarame. Speaking of that, they meet Madarame, who confirms again what he had been doing, this time on purpose and in front of Yusuke. He summons a bunch of shadows from a box in order to stop the thieves. This shadow fight is actually interesting, and it doesn't use an all-out attack. In order to stop the flow of shadows, they would need to block the source. Then Madarame starts monologuing at the perfect time, ruining his reputation even further. It turns out that he had only taken Yusuke in to harvest his talent. This gets Yusuke pretty upset, to the point where he goes insane. What happened to the shadows? Madarame? Literally everyone else? Did they just forget to animate them? After this insanity, he awakens to his persona, Goemon. Yusuke breaks the anime trope of a katana cutting things in half just by unsheathing it and sheathing it again, but it actually kind of makes sense here. He freezes the box of shadows, stopping the flow, which is a very nice use of elemental skills, which they haven't really shown before. They leave, and Yusuke joins the Phantom Thieves. His codename, Fox, is decided upon. With Yusuke's help, they are able to make their way through the palace a lot easier and finish their infiltration route. This time around, Yusuke will be making the calling card, because honestly the last one looked pretty bad. Ren gets summoned to the Velvet Room with a pretty sick transition. But let's think about this transition for a second. What is Igor doing with the mask? Ren isn't doing any fusion since he only came due to his being summoned. This response doesn't match his gut level at all. That sort of response would likely be saved for level 4 or 5, and There's no way he's leveled up his guts that high already. Another thing to mention is that Akechi didn't appear again, and he wasn't even mentioned.